Sorry, I'm looking at my table like, what is this over here? Oh, okay. Good morning. How is everyone on this rainy? Well, it's rainy here. Got a speck on my screen. It's rainy here in New York City. It might not be rainy where you're at. But good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you? I hope all is well with you today. And you can stop trying to. I recorded myself singing last night to see how much my talent had declined. Yes. And I was like, this is terrible. This is terrible. I think I sing better after I've drank, not in the karaoke sense. I mean that literally for some reason, if I drink like just one glass of wine, it seems to help coat my vocal cords. It's very interesting. I don't know. But if I just try and sing regularly, it's definitely not happening anymore, which makes me sad because I used to sing. Anyway, good morning. How is everybody? Hope you all are well. Thank you for joining. Thank you for hopping on. I have these like little, I feel this tension in my solar plexus region right now, which is interesting. It's an interesting experience to notice. And I did not shake that up enough this morning. And I usually make this like right before I come on. It's a way for me to have water and get my stuff in. So I've gotten to the point in my practice where I can notice my body, right? And that's what I hope for you all. Whatever your practice is, where you get to the point in your practice where there's this, it's like you are one person, but you are two layers, and so you can be, as we'll talk about, you can be who you are, but you can also notice your body at the same time without becoming that. So for instance, if you're feeling fear, you can feel the fear without allowing the fear to fuck with your mind all day, right? Or the tension to fuck with your mind all day. Because that's what happens. You get into a situation where you're feeling anxious, scared, something, and you feel it, and it starts to take over your whole day. And you're walking around all tense. You do get to a point in your practice where you can notice the feelings in your body without it impacting you. And it's kind of like, this body's feeling a way. Must be something going on. So that's where I am this morning. And the fear of knowing who you are. So I think about, as I was typing the title, I thought about men and women who realized that whatever it was that they came to do, or whatever frequency it was that they were placed on this earth to carry, it was going to ruffle some feathers of whatever the masses were for them at that time, right? It was going to challenge, it was going to challenge some folks, and it was going to make some people feel uncomfortable. And they had a choice. They could follow the frequency that they were given, follow the trajectory of the purpose they had, or they could ignore it or choose a safer path. This is kind of reminds me of Robert Frost's poem of the two paths that diverge in the woods. You can take the path that most people travel, and there's safety in that. There's tribalism in that. Or you can take the path that maybe no one else has traveled, or maybe a few, or the path that will take you away from your tribe, and thus in our minds and survival mind take us away from safety. This is the importance of understanding your connection to spirit and your connection to something higher than yourself. Because once you understand, have an inkling of who you are, of what your vibration is, of what your frequency is, it becomes very challenging to not live it. And there are people who know what it is and just their human self cannot muster up the courage for it. And totally understandable. Cannot muster up the courage for it. And they live this life of depression, sadness, bitterness, regret. I think about people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, people who went against what seemed to be a norm. Martin Luther King Jr., Harriet Tubman, people who knew, they were solid and knew this is the path. And we see them as brave because we're looking at it from a historical perspective. We see them as brave, as though they had no fear. I'm coming to realize that I'm sure they all had fear. I'm sure every person who follows what they know their energetic signature to be experiences fear. And then it's kind of like feel the fear and do it anyway. The saying ignorance is bliss, can make so much sense because not knowing, you could just frolic through this world. But as soon as you know and you feel within you what you're somehow called to do, say, be, and it does not match your family, it does not match society, it does not match what you've been taught, the first instinct is to say, no, that's not for me. No, no, it's not happening. Some of you are called to speak to people. You have something that needs to be said, and you feel it in your body. You feel it in your body. It's like, and you tell yourself. And then what happens is you go on Facebook or you go on Instagram, someplace else, and you see the thing that you were going to say, and you're like, man, maybe I should have said that. Maybe I should have posted that. Man, but what if my family, or what if my friends, and it's a rough go, right? So I'll just talk a little bit about my journey as an example. I started out, let's talk about just social media, right, for right now, because, we're on social media. I started out on social media when I was a stay-at-home moms, homeschooling my kids, and it was a way to connect with other, homeschooling moms in my area and so forth and so on. At the time, Facebook just decided to open up I hadn't finished my degree at that time, and Facebook was only for like college folk, right? And I didn't post much. It's a couple of things. I was always like really like spiritual, right? That was an acceptable thing in my family, an acceptable thing in my tribe. We're all very spiritual people. And so I posted a lot of spiritual stuff. If you go back and look at my Facebook, it really, like the thread of it hasn't changed. Some of the content and the way I express the thread may have changed. When I started making the switch to talking more about sex, I was scared to do that. I was talking more about spirituality, and then I'd left my ex-husband, and going through divorce, and so I started talking about relationships and communication, and then there was this thing that kept coming out of me, and I was like, no, no. And here's how it's not even your choice in a way. I mean, it is, but it isn't. But this is how you know that there are always markers on your path. Um, in 2015, as I was posting things and I was getting back into my so I've been studying witchcraft and spell work and magical stuff almost my whole life, y'all. I just hadn't really been applying it. I was studying chakras in my early 20s. I just wasn't really applying it. I was learning about all these things. I still have this big book, this book of witchcraft with all, I mean, everything from how to make your knife to your cloak. Like, I was in it. I wasn't always applying all of it. And so in 2015, a couple reached out to me. Brian and Karen, they have they have a company called Explore Tantra. They were just on the Braxtons. I can say that now because Brian posted the clip. They were on the Braxton Family Values last year. They filmed it before COVID. They were on there talking about Tantra and shit, bringing it to the Black folks out here. So excited about that. Yes. All right. Anyway, so they reached out to me to speak at they were putting together a sacred sexuality retreat. Now, I had not been to a sacred sexuality retreat yet. I wanted to go, but most of them were mostly white folks, and I just didn't feel comfortable, and I wanted to go because I understood that my skin color gave me a different perspective on history. I don't know, let me just explain to y'all why I was uncomfortable. And so they were putting this retreat together. Now, it wasn't just for Black people, it's for everybody. But I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. And so they reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to come and speak? And I was like, huh? I mean, they messaged me on Facebook. Would you like to come? We would love to have you as a speaker at our retreat. And I got on the phone with them and I was like, hi. I was like, are you sure? Like, I wasn't posting anything that I thought would lead someone to say, you should come speak at a sacred sexuality retreat. They were like, your energy. And I'd met them in another group, so I was already friends with them on Facebook, but something about your post, what you post. I was like, oh, I said, sure. And from that point, I understood and realized there was something I was supposed to be doing that I was trying not to do. And what I was supposed to be doing was so clear in this lifetime that the universe is like, this chick, she keeps trying to run from this. We need to put something in her path now, because this I'm gonna be spiritual, and it's just, that's not it. We need to do more. Oh, let's have this couple reach out to her. And from there, really, Sensual Energy Alchemy, along with what I learned from my ex-husband, was kind of like catapulted out into the world. Otherwise, if the rock hadn't been thrown at my head, I don't know. So once I realized that thing in me that was always curious about sex and sexuality and healing and communication and relationships and understanding the connection between the body and the mind and the sex that we have, and how that's a creative force, and how we can use orgasmic energy to create our lives, and how it's not just about orgasms during intercourse and sex, but it's deeper on this metaphysical level. Once I began to put all the things together in the parts of my life, because if you look back over your life, the truth of who you are and what your frequency is has always been there. It has always been there. if I look back over my childhood from when my parents were Buddhists and I would sit in meditation and say Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, if I look back over when I was 11 and I decided I wanted to be a psychiatrist and they were like, that requires medical school, I said, okay, I'll be a psychologist instead. And then I decided I wanted to study psychology and I wanted to be a social worker and I wanted to be a therapist. If I look back over my health and wellness journey, and how I got involved in health, how I took an aerobics class in high school and said, oh my God, I want to do this. I want to teach this class. And it went on to become a personal trainer and went on to become a group fitness instructor. So I was learning about the body. If I look back over all the breadcrumbs of my life, it's not a surprise that I'm sitting here doing this. The only difference between me and someone else is that I have been and am still willing to feel the fear that comes along with carrying this frequency of who I am. I started this by saying I felt like I could feel the knots in the body, you know, in my solar plexus region, which is, I mean, I'm a Virgo and the stomach is our thing. And so, you know, I mean, I think for most people it's like that, but for me, definitely whenever there's fear, it's like, it's right there in my power center. Because I'm being called now to really make that jump with the things that are coming through me. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I would prefer to stay at the level that I'm at right here. It's kind of acceptable. But where I'm being led to and what's formulating in me is, it scares me a little bit. When you look back over your life, can you see the trail? Can you see the places where the truth of who you are came out? Not did you like it or not? Did you want to do it or not? None of that. But can you sit with the knowing? Because we always know. Can you sit with the knowing of the truth of who you are? Because we all can. And then you can say yes, and you know, there was a fear. I think I've said it in one of my other lives. Some of y'all might be living in the South and it's like, you just know you're supposed to be in Seattle and you have no idea what's in Seattle or why you've had this burning thing to take you there. But your whole family is in the South, you know, your whole life has been there. I mean, you traveled a little bit, you know, maybe you went to Seattle once and it just felt like that was your home. And you're like, it's a big move. The truth of who you are is like, yes, it is. You gotta go. And then you find those two paths in the woods. And the fear, if you let it overtake you, will keep you safe and where you're at. Now, I believe that we get multiple opportunities. I believe in reincarnation. We are energetic soul beings. We don't die. Our energetic signature doesn't die. That is my personal belief. Like some folks believe that Jesus came from, you know, the Virgin Mary. Your body goes away, but you're still here. And so I believe that you have opportunities. So it's like, if there's too much fear in this lifetime, maybe this lifetime was just about experiencing the fear and understanding it. Maybe you're watching this and you're saying, yeah, and I'm not going to Seattle. I'm just too scared. And that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, that's perfectly fine. Like, this lifetime is about you just being where you're at. Don't be bitter about it, is my only hope for you. Don't be regretful that you didn't do the thing that you knew you were called to do. Don't regret not doing it. Don't be mad at others because they held you back from it. Accept that in this moment, in this particular span of your soul's existence, that you were like, I just, you know what? I couldn't do it this lifetime. It's all good though. You know, I'm a find pleasure and acceptance in my choices here. And it's gonna be all right. So you don't have to honor that. But if you choose to, know that you're going to be afraid. Know that every person who you've seen do something that looks courageous, it didn't mean there was no fear. It's like saying polyamorous people have no jealousy. Of course we do. And courageous people have fear too. But they just decide that their purpose, their mission, who they are, is far greater than the fear. That's the difference. So there's fear for me in this next level of what's being created, and pushing the boundaries of people's views of how they think women are supposed to be or act. It's very entrenched in us. And this idea that if you're not this, then you must be wrong. And I don't believe that that's true. Just like there are people who are on this platform who truly and fully believe that it's really important for women to be married and to be homemakers and to learn how to carry that role. I think that that's a beautiful thing. I mean, I did it, you know, and I think it's a beautiful thing. And there are women who that's that frequency. That's the frequency, right? That's not me. That's not the frequency I'm here to carry. It doesn't mean that you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not one or the other, right? So it doesn't mean that, and it doesn't mean that if you carry my frequency that you are not married either, right? It just means that perhaps you're not a full-on 1952 style homemaker. Maybe you could be. I think I can encompass pieces of that for them to take back. But that view of oh God, is it chaste? That view of modest, you know, Proverbs 31 woman, the way that it's taught, that's not this frequency here. This frequency that you'll find here that is continuing to grow is a frequency of Lilith, Sekhmet, Isis. It is a frequency of hedonism, lust, decadence. That's the frequency that you'll begin to find more here. It is a frequency of Women who will not be tamed under any circumstances. Women who will not be handled under any circumstances. And women who are responsible under all circumstances. Responsibility for everything. And so that's a little bit frightening because in our society, still, pushing that envelope has people going, it's like when Amber Rose did the slut walk and people were like, oh my God, women are not supposed to do that. That's immoral. So yeah, I got to work with that. And deal with the fear of that. But if I don't, for me, I don't see any other way. So for you, look at the breadcrumbs of your life. Who are you? Not what do you do? Not just whose child are you? Whose mother are you? Hell, for the men who is, you too. Y'all got, there's stuff that you feel like you're supposed to do. I'm gonna tell you right now, if one of my sons came to me and they were like, they felt this huge calling to be in the armed forces, I would be like, hell no. Like, fuck no. But if they were like, I am a soldier. I am a soldier in my heart. I am a soldier. What am I gonna say? Nothing. I gotta let him go, and I know my daughters are not, that's not them at all, but I would have to let him go and be a soldier. It's not up to me, So look back over the breadcrumbs in your life and see where they've led you. Sit with the burning desire of the truth of who you are, even if it frightens you, if you're ready. And if you're not ready to know what that truth is, that is all good. Walk through this world just feeling good about your choices. Don't be regretful. Don't be bitter. Don't be angry. Yeah. All right, that's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow morning. I didn't even drink my juice this morning, so much I was talking. I'll see you all back here tomorrow morning. Take care. Have a good Thursday. Bye.